All right, chapter 5, Amelia's story, recognizing that every child is different. This chapter is a really good chapter because I feel like we have a lot of, or we don't, but like I feel like teachers have a lot of stories about Amelias that they have in their classroom. So it's a really good idea to kind of know about one and kind of go into detail about how they act and how they are and maybe why they act that way. And this chapter is really good. So it says that each child is different and needs to be treated as so, right? So we don't need to generalize them and have them all teach them all the same way and stuff like that. We need to just individualize all of them and know that they don't all learn the same and they don't all act the same. So J. Ronald Lawley has advocated tirelessly for decades that programs serving infants and toddlers need to be more responsive to individual temperaments. So basically figuring out how the child learn, how the child acts, and how to help them whenever they act a certain way, if it's not the correct way or not a good way to act. So it says both children and adults are different, right? We do know that. Or not from each other, but like they're different from everyone. Like no one's the same. No one person's the same. You have people that have to be told what to do, and whenever they do, they struggle with that. They don't like being told what to do because they're usually the leaders, and when they do, they feel when they have like no control or little control, they just are so stressed about it and they just don't know what to do or how to act that way. And then you have the people who need the security in the rules to feel more comfortable when they know detail by detail what is required of them. So those who basically just follow. And then you have the people who crave predictability, needing agendas and itineraries. So no one is the same. You have all different kinds of people, therefore you have all different kinds of children. You do not need to treat any one of them the same because they're all going to be different. They're all going to do their own thing and they're all going to require you to know how each of them are individual because that's how you're going to teach them from here on out. And it says temperaments, preferences, and interests show up quite early in life, but it takes time for children to figure out who they are and what they like. So you can see, I remember when I was at Head Start, I can see a few children that I would notice that would be either at the same center every time that I went, or one or two of the same one, and would really never go to any center other than the ones that the two or the one that they liked. They would stay there unless the teacher would tell them to move, or unless they would have to do something else. But generally, they were comfortable in that one center or two centers and would just stay there unless told otherwise. And that's basically how what we see in Amelia's story is that she's comfortable with what she did at home, and that's what she wanted to do at school, even though her teachers wouldn't really want her to, didn't really allow her to, but that's just how she was comfortable. That's how she felt like she was at home. That's when she felt, normal, and that's how she learned. That's how she wanted to learn, and that's how she needed to be treated. The teachers just didn't quite really know how to teach her because they kind of generalized her with the rest of the students because the other students probably were good students, but she was the one that was a little bit different. So the teacher and Amelia both stressed each other out. So on page 101, it says that it also takes time for children to develop strategies for accommodating their individual needs and to find settling in which they feel most at home, which is like what I said, which is why she was probably going to that one or two centers, which is probably why those kids in the Head Start that I saw were going to the same centers, because something about that reminded them of home. In her case, it was the dolls. The dolls reminded her of how at home her dad would let her play with dolls for hours. She would never be told no, she'd never be told how long. It was just basically however long she wanted to. So then you have children who don't feel at home, like Amelia, and it obviously showed. This chapter talks about the 4-year-old and some examples of showing of how they know that she was not very well in the classroom, not starting off very well. This was about week 5, I think, as I said, whenever she's saying that she is not compliant. She likes to play alone or with only 1 or 2 children. She does not bond easily with adults other than the parents, especially not the teacher and teacher aide, and she is cautious. So like the example they gave with the paint, like she's like did not want to put her hand in the paint because at home she knows that no, you use a brush to paint and nothing else. So she also has a low tolerance for frustration. And I saw a majority of these at the Head Start with some children who stayed, like I said, in those same centers. You could see that most of them didn't like playing with other children. They were a lot more cautious and they had really little patience and they would get frustrated pretty fast. So I did see that a lot. But back to Amelia. So when she started, she wasn't obviously doing what they wanted her to. She was non-compliant. She did not like being told what to do, and they were, like I said, stressing each other out. So then she gets upset because the center that she wanted to go to was full after she had been telling her teacher the whole time that that's what she wanted to do the whole morning, and that's what she had been looking forward to the moment she walked into class. And so then the fact that she couldn't do it upset her. She acted out. She did something that got her in trouble. Then the teacher and the teacher aide took her to the office and called her parents and wanted the parents to set her up on medication. And the dad said no, because my child is not hyperactive. My child does this and this at home. She doesn't do that here, but I'm not going to put her on medication. So that makes you think that maybe the teachers need to think about how she wants to learn and how she's different from other children, and then they need to figure out the way she learns best. So this chapter was mostly about those type of things, and it was a really good chapter to read.